Drake sees the number on TV. Tens of trillions of dollars. He doesn't know what it means. He doesn't know if he should care. And so, like most people, he changes the channel. Daniel also saw the number. He spent 20 minutes understanding what it actually means for his taxes, his mortgage, his retirement, and his purchasing power. In this video, we're not going to panic about the national debt. We're going to explain what it actually is, how it affects your daily financial life, and what, if anything, you should do about it. The U.S. national debt is the total amount the federal government has borrowed and not yet paid back. It accumulates whenever the government spends more in a year than it collects in taxes, which is called a deficit. There are two numbers you'll hear. Total national debt includes money the government owes to itself, like Social Security trust funds. The more economically meaningful figure is debt held by the public, which is what the government owes to outside investors, U.S. citizens, pension funds, foreign governments, and the Federal Reserve. Here's the key distinction. A deficit is an annual number. The debt is the running total. In fiscal year 2026, the Congressional Budget Office projected the annual deficit at $1.9 trillion. That's 5.8% of the entire economy in a single year. Every deficit adds to the total debt. The cbo also projected that debt held by the public would reach roughly 101% of GDP in 2026, meaning the debt is now essentially equal to the entire size of the U.S. economy. By 2036, the cbo projects that rises to 120% of GDP. The three biggest drivers of federal spending are Social Security, Medicare and Medicaid, and interest on the debt itself. As the population ages, Social Security and healthcare costs increase automatically. They're not a policy choice each year. They're structural. But the fastest growing category right now is interest. The federal government is now spending over $1 trillion per year just to pay interest on the money it already owes. That's more than the defense budget. $1 trillion in interest per year. Yes, and that number is projected to double to $2.1 trillion by 2036 if the trajectory holds. This is what economists mean when they talk about crowding out. When interest takes up more and more of the budget, there's less left for roads, schools, and other things. Here's the part most people don't connect. How does a government debt figure that big actually land in your life? The first channel is taxes. When the government carries more debt, it eventually has to either raise taxes, cut services, or do both. The trajectory of the debt makes future tax increases more likely than not, particularly for income taxes on higher earners. The second channel is interest rates. When the government needs to borrow a lot, it competes with businesses and consumers for available capital. This can push up interest rates broadly, including on mortgages, car loans, and credit cards. This is why I locked in my mortgage when I could, and why I'm trying to pay down variable rate debt now. The third channel is inflation. When the government spends significantly more than it collects and finances the gap by selling bonds, it adds money to the financial system. More money chasing the same goods puts upward pressure on prices. This is one of the reasons inflation spiked so hard after 2021. The fourth channel is currency value. Heavy debt loads can, over time, reduce confidence in the dollar as a reserve currency. This affects the purchasing power of every dollar you hold. This is a slow-moving risk, not an immediate one, but it's real. I thought inflation was supposed to be done by now. Daniel can't fix the national debt. Nobody watching this video can. But Daniel builds his personal financial strategy with the debt's likely consequences in mind. He keeps his savings in accounts that earn real interest, HYSAs, and market investments, rather than letting cash sit idle losing to inflation. He diversifies, not all in U.S. assets. He holds some international index funds in his portfolio, which gives him exposure outside the dollar. He's aggressive about paying down high-interest debt because rising interest rates from government borrowing pressure hit variable-rate borrowers first and hardest. And he invests consistently in the stock market, because over long periods, equity ownership in productive companies has been the most reliable hedge against government fiscal mismanagement. I can't vote on the budget, but I can make sure my personal finances don't depend on the government fixing things quickly. This is the right frame. The national debt is a real risk, but it's a slow-moving one, and most of its effects show up in ways you can partially protect against. Drake's response to learning about the national debt was to panic. He sold some of his index funds. He bought a little gold. He's been waiting for the economy to collapse so he can say he was right. I'm just being prepared. Prepared for what exactly and on what timeline? The U.S. has carried large debt loads before, including after World War II, when debt hit 106% of GDP. The economy grew out of it over decades. The system adapted. Not smoothly, not without costs, but it did not collapse. The people who did best were not the ones who abandoned the market. They were the ones who kept investing, kept earning, and kept their personal finances disciplined. Here's what matters. The national debt is the government's running total of borrowed money. The FY 2026 deficit alone is $1.9 trillion. Debt held by the public is now around 101% of GDP. Interest payments on the debt have surpassed $1 trillion per year and are rising fast. This affects you through higher potential taxes, upward pressure on borrowing costs, inflation risk, and slow currency erosion. The right personal response is not panic. It's stay invested in productive assets, hold real returning savings accounts, diversify your exposure, and reduce variable rate debt. The national debt is a macro problem. Your finances are a micro problem. Focus on what you can actually control. This video is for educational purposes only and is not personalized financial advice. If this helped you, subscribe. We post a new personal finance video every single day. Next video is coming soon. Stay subscribed and you won't miss it.